Hello and welcome to our first episode of the Transformation Compass, the podcast where we explore change and impact in our complex world. This podcast is brought to you by the Doctorate of Business Administration program at ISC Paris. And for our first episode, my guest today is one of the distinguished alumni of the school, Jean-Christophe Laissy. Jean-Christophe graduated in 1993 from the Master Programme Grande École, and that launched him into a global career in IT and digital transformation. He worked for different industry giants, including, for instance, Veolia, where his approach was rewarded with the 2019 CIO of the Year award. He also served at Alstom, especially during the landmark merger with General Electric, navigating as Deputy CIO the complex integration between the two entities. Currently, Jean-Christophe serves as partner at Boston Consulting Group, helping organizations in their digital transformation. Jean-Christophe, we're honored to have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nabil. Very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So our focus today, of course, is digital transformation. But digital transformation, I would say, beyond the buzzwords of AI and tech, we're going to focus, or at least try to focus, on how organizations actually change. And talking about AI is today one of the topics that are at the top of the agenda of every CEO. We hear a lot about artificial intelligence, chatbots, generative AI, optimization models, predictive analytics, etc. But we know that at the end of the day, what organizations are looking for, what they really care for, is creating value. So when we talk about AI today, in your experience, Jean-Christophe, to what extent is AI living up to its promise in terms of value creation?
You're perfectly right. AI is full of promise. And the point is how we capture this promise to turn it into value creation in most companies. This is where most companies are struggling today, for sure. In fact, research shows that 70% of companies are falling short on their objectives in terms of digital transformation. Most of the time is because of organizations or human factors. I like very much this joke saying, do you know why God created the world in 7 days? It's because there was no legacy system. Okay, so it means that, in other words, technology is rarely the only hurdle. Okay, most of the time, it's a matter of people, processes, and legacy culture that determine success or failure in those transformations. Let me put it this way in terms of AI. AI is not a magic powder. Okay, you can sprinkle on companies, and by magic, you have all the value creation and all the transformation to get all the results. So you need to find the right problems, the right data, the right mindset. There's a rule that is quite simple. It's called the 10-20-70 rule. It means you can spend 10% of your effort just designing algorithm, 20% of the effort on technology and data platform, and the rest, 70% of this effort, must be dedicated to transform people, processes, and all the organization. So you need to spend more time on those people and processes than on technology. So, because you can build the smartest AI tool of the world, if people don't use it, it's useless. Okay, so people need to appropriate those tools in order to use them. Perfect. So this is really key. And most of the time we can see that people embrace AI when they trust in AI. Trust is really key in that matter.
So the human factor is key. And I like this rule of thumb that you gave, the 10, 20, 70. But maybe to help our listeners have a better grasp of it, can you maybe illustrate this type of successful transformation with a success story that you've encountered?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Let's imagine an AI tool predicting machine failures with 95% accuracy, which is technically brilliant, and it's quite easy to do it, okay? But if the maintenance team don't trust or understand this tool, they won't use it at all. They keep it aside. So, and if they don't use it, the value disappears. That's the problem. On the flip side, if the team is embracing that tool and using it very deeply, they can adjust the schedules, the processes. Here, you got the value because you will reduce dramatically downtime or boost the savings, whatever. But trust is, and the understanding of the tool is really key. And at Veolia, I experienced this. Our success was not just technology. It was about convincing workers in the water plant or the waste sites to use AI and to convince them that AI is their partner, not their replacement. Okay, so we trained the people, we celebrated quick wins, and with the leadership visibly celebrating each success. That was a way over time that AI became really a co-worker of those people. And they really use it, and they improve their efficiency and their customer satisfaction. So that's the way to embrace technology. And all at BCG, we have a study that shows that 25% of the companies that truly achieve significant value from AI, they focus deeply on very few use cases, very few topics, 1, 2, or 3 topics maximum, rather than having small experiments everywhere in the company. So they are really focusing. And the lesson is clear. If you choose few topics and that you deeply embed them in the processes, in the ways of working of the company, this is where value appears and is captured for the company. And this is the way you can turn AI potential into real profit.
So if I get it right, 2 very important pillars for creating value out of AI. Focus. Don't waste your resources or your energy on many experimentations. Exactly. Focus more on a few key areas. And when you focus on these areas, try to drive as far as you possible into the processes.
As deep as you
exactly,
can.
And get people really involved in the process. Perfect. This is actually a lot also of what I see in my own research. Actually, currently working with mainly small and medium-sized companies,
yes.
Whom I see a lot of the time trying maybe to be all over the place with AI, trying to experiment a lot, and at the end of the day, there's very little result because there's this lack of focus.
And everybody is lost.
Exactly. Another thing also when we talk about value for the organization is that we often hear of how AI helps individuals work faster. For example, many people use today on a very daily basis ChatGPT and the likes to, write emails, crunch data. I know that myself and my students, we definitely use it a lot in our daily work. So we see a lot of personal gains of productivity. Yeah. But the question is for organizations, how do we move from this individual level of gains to a sort of like organizational level? How can organizations scale their AI initiatives?
Well, this is a point actually. And it doesn't prevent companies to start small. So they need to start small because they need to be comfortable with those tools. And they start with what I call pocket of excellence. So this is really useful to start small. But imagine one team or one individual using AI to respond to email faster or very quick, which was your example. It's like giving their own turbocharger. So that's good, but it's not enough to really capture the value for the company. True enterprise value comes from scaling these small successes in something bigger. It's not just doing things quicker, it's about completely changing the way things are done. This is very important. So think about it. One salesperson, for instance, sending emails quicker is helpful but very limited. Now imagine your entire sales process transformed by AI. With AI, finding leads, personalizing pitches, predicting what customers want. This is when productivity turns into revenue growth.
So scaling is important, that we agree on, but we still see many companies, many organizations that struggle after the first few experimentations, after the small projects, the quick wins, to move to the scaling. How do we succeed in this shift? What are the secrets to scaling these successes?
Yeah, so you've touched a common point that everybody's struggling today. Many organizations are spread too thin. It means they have a chatbot here, a forecasting tool there, and they have a lot of experiments. So it doesn't work because it's not truly transformative. Successful company, so focus on one or two. For example, they may say, well, we want to become AI-driven in our supply chain first. That's a clear priority. Or let's transform our entire customer experience with AI. So those clear priorities are very interesting because they ensure that resources, leadership, and globally all the effort go exactly where it matters. The entire company is focused and dedicated to tackle this specific problem. And that's very important. Let me share an example. Imagine a manufacturing firm initially using AI to predict equipment maintenance, the classical one. That's a great start. But real change happens when they scale up, launching a company-wide AI-driven maintenance system. And they start retraining the teams, changing the processes, redesigning everything in the supply chain. And here, from this very little experiment from the beginning, you change at the end, you change the entire process and the entire supply chain of the company. And this is when it happens for real in terms of value creation. So you can see all the benefits very quickly when you're redesigning the entire process. And if the entire company is focused on that, it goes very fast because all the efforts and the resources are dedicated to that. This is really interesting to see. But don't forget, it's not about technology, it's about culture and people. So remember the famous rule?
Yeah, the 10-20-70.
The 10-20-70 rule. And so you need a comprehensive employee training, explanations, communications. This is really key. And you can notice that it's when people start understanding where AI can help them, what AI can bring to them, that they start changing.
You talk about culture, but strategy, of course, is also key. And we see this in what you're saying, the idea of choosing priorities, which is basically a strategic exercise. My question is, we see a lot of companies struggling with this choice because they don't know if they should, from the start, set a clear AI strategy, or they should first let the teams and individuals experiment a bit and then move to a strategy. What do you think about this?
Well, you can wait for the people to embrace the technology, but it takes time. So the best way is really to drive the change, starting with people and spending time on people and cultural changes, and then you can drive the value. And it's the same difference between legacy companies and AI-driven or digital native companies. It's very, very different. Digital natives, they are born with AI inside. It's part of their DNA, from infrastructure to the boardroom. Everything is data-driven, and they are like a sports car, if you want. Okay, legacy companies are more like reliable and tough SUVs. Okay, not designed for speed. They are built for endurance. Okay, so they are burdened with old systems, with outdated software most of the time, with a risk-adverse culture. That's the main problem. And remember the joke with God, the 7 days,
yes,
and
the
legacy systems. It's funny, but it's true. Legacy systems and legacy tech can significantly slow down the transformation. So, however, as the challenge is not only on technology, it's also the company's mindset you need to change. Legacy firms often operate in silos. They base decisions on experimentation or experience rather than on data. And all those things create a big barrier to change. And that's the problem.
I really like this metaphor of the sports cars and the SUVs. So if we focus a bit on the sports cars, so those ones, the digital native, those are the ones you currently call the AI first organizations.
Exactly. Yes.
So just by the way, for our listeners, I discovered the term AI first recently while following your LinkedIn publications, actually, Jean-Christophe. So I'd really definitely recommend our listeners to subscribe and follow, because there's a wealth of information there. But if I focus a bit on the legacy companies, I think that most of our alumni and even most listeners today work for legacy companies that have sometimes decades old technology stacks and processes. So can these traditional companies, can they truly transform themselves? And how do we re-engineer a legacy firm to become an AI first or AI-enabled company?
Yeah. So it's not about changing everything and transform a legacy company into an AI or digital native one, because it's a huge ambition. But let me share an example at Veolia. Veolia is a 160 more old company. So
definitely legacy.
There's years of history, you see? So yeah, definitely a legacy company. Well, this is what we call it. When I joined as a CIO, the infrastructure was quite outdated, crappy. The decision-making process was fully decentralized, and there was a lot of silos and difficulties in different processes. But we launched a very bold movement or bold initiative, turning off 80 data centers in the world. So we call it the zero data center strategy, and we start launching this to go full cloud for the entire company. It was in 2015, so at the very beginning of the cloud journey. And but it was not a tech shift. The tech shift was quite easy to make. The problem was a people shift. So we created an internal marketplace where we published cloud solutions approved by the central, okay, in a marketplace, and all the business units worldwide, the more than 80 business units, they could freely select one or another solution in this marketplace. And we empowered the local teams, leaving the choice to embrace it or not, or to adopt it or not. And this is how we start building trust. We saw the adoption rate raising quickly to more than 60% of the people using those AI or digital tools, and that was quite impressive. So, and suddenly IT appears more as an enabler than a roadblock, and it was a huge change in the perception of IT and tech in the entire company. So, for this, clear communication was crucial, for sure. We constantly demonstrated quick wins. We supported all those people, because you can't change anything if employees don't understand the why and what is good for them. What's in it for me? This is a clear question everybody's asking when you start a change. So that was really key.
I think this is really very important, because you mentioned the word empowering the business units and empowering the people. We hear this word very often. It's all over the place. Everyone wants to empower other people. It's the how that is missing. And what I hear in what you're saying is that there are two keys for empowering in this initiative. One was to give people the sense of why. Why this is being done, why this transformation is taking place. And the other is, and I find this quite brilliant, the idea of the internal marketplace, which is really an empowering tool, because somehow you are still keeping like oversight, but at the same time you're avoiding the kind of the central command resistance.
Yeah, exactly. And this is key. And in this example, even the business units can publish their own cloud solutions and their own digital solutions. So that was really a cross-fertilization way to push these initiatives.
So there is somehow
this is building trust.
So there is somehow even like possibilities for reverse innovation coming from the business units towards other business units, towards the center.
Exactly, and this is really key. So this example shows that even legacy companies can transform themselves, because they have some advantages that digital native doesn't have. Such as they have a huge amount of data and historical data they can dig into. So this is very important. They have a footprint, very large footprint, with multicultural being present in a lot of different countries compared to startups, or I'm not talking about Google and Amazon, but those startups, those digital native startups. So and they know very well their customer, because they have relationships for decades with them. So this is, if they build on those competitive advantage, they can leapfrog younger companies. And I've seen traditional businesses out-innovating startups once they address their cultural barriers. And it's, once again, it's about culture. So, and this is, I call organizational acupuncture. So you identify the pain points and you press on it until it doesn't hurt anymore. So this is so you finger point your outdated systems, your skill gaps or your silos, and you're solving them step by step. This is acupuncture.
I think you can definitely trademark that expression. I've never heard it before, organizational acupuncture, but I like it because it really goes back to your previous point on focus. Don't spread yourself thin on all sorts of initiatives. Focus on the pain points of your internal stakeholders.
Yeah.
Try to solve those to get them to get their buy-in somehow.
Yeah, and that's why it's important. And you can let the people embrace the transformation. That if you don't have a clear management, clear priorities, a drive, really a strong drive for transformation, you go nowhere. It's very difficult.